it's Andi again. For those of you who are returning, thank you, and those of you who are new, thank you for stopping by and checking me out. I am Andi the Knittress on Instagram and Pandas Knits and Knots on Ravelry. And this is my podcast about knitting and spinning, crocheting, other crafty things. So, what's new with me? I was going to film a podcast last week, but I could not because we got snow in the little town that I live in Oregon, Southern Oregon. We usually don't get snow down in the valley. It's usually only up in the mountains. But we got like a foot of snow and the whole town basically shut down. There were power outages everywhere. Some people, I think, are still without power, and this was from last Sunday, and it is currently Tuesday, so not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that. I think there are some people out in the rural places that are still without power. We were lucky enough to only lose our power for a short period of time, thank goodness. We don't have a wood stove, or we didn't have a propane heater or anything like that. I was really concerned, for staying warm if that happened to us. But thankfully, our power, only flickered a few times, and we were really lucky. But my kids were home for an entire week of school. I love my children, but I have to be prepared to deal with them all day long for long periods of time, and we definitely weren't prepared, and we couldn't really get out or go anywhere. We were cooped up and going stir crazy. They did get to play in the snow a lot, which they loved, but so yay, I get to finally film my podcast today. So there's that. This is a new mug I got that I really like. It's do more of what makes you happy, and pretty much that's what I'm doing here. This, I think, is going to bring a little bit of light to my life occasionally. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, on to what I am wearing. This is my Knit Mandala Cowl by Mary Dickerson. I modified it a little bit. I really love it. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's so huge. I love that I can pull it up and, wear it as a hood if need be. I've got all these extra layers around my neck. It was a really fun knit. There's like several different rows of different patterning in the cowl. There's some ribbed, and then pearls, and a couple of cables, and then almost like a basket weave, and then there's this beautiful lace work. I added this bubble section and then another row of lace before going into the rib, because I wanted to make a little cord to run through it, because I made mine bigger than the pattern required so that I could cinch it up if I wanted to. I really love it. But it is it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but there is a link that you can get it free on her website. But this is it here, and I knit it with the Lion Brand Mandala. And I do believe that's what she wrote the pattern for, because it's called Knit Mandala Cowl. Yeah, so that is Knit Mandala Cowl by Mary Dickerson, and I really, really like it. And I have on my Stillwater that I knit by Marie Green of Olive Knits that I showed last week. And I don't know if I was saying that the shoulders kind of fall off sometimes, and So what I did was I ran like a basting stitch in the collar, and I can just snug it tight to cinch it up a little. I learned that little trick from, I was watching I Rock Knits when she podcasted with Yarn Hoarder, and I was just, I was like, yes, that's what I need to do. I need to run a stitch through mine so that it stays on my shoulders, and so far it's working really well. It's one of the things that I love about watching podcasts is all of the things that you learn that you maybe wouldn't look up or know how to look up, or I couldn't find the right words to look those things up. And that's why I love watching podcasts. I learn little tidbits here and there about things that are really informational and good for me to have. So speaking of podcasts, some of the podcasts I've been watching this week, one of my favorite podcasts to watch is Drunk Knitter with Sophia. She always has like the best recommendations for books and like tips for, designing your own sweaters or, little things here or there. And her energy is just it's so good to watch. I just really I love her podcast. Another podcast I watched this week was Nitty Naughty with Diane and Vanessa. Vanessa is a personal friend of mine. When I used to live on the East Coast, we used to be in the same knitting group, and I love her dearly. And her daughters were her daughter Brenna and my daughter Scarlett kind of grew up together for a little while, and I miss them so much. So it's really awesome to see her and Diane every week just chit chat about knitting and stuff like that. That's totally something that I would do with her if I still lived over there, and I miss her so much. And Diane, Diane, I don't know if it's Diane or Diana. I think it's Diane. She is from the Knotted Bag on Etsy. She makes these cute little bags, carry your knitting projects and other stuff in. So check her out. Another one that I was watching this week, I actually just found this week, was a lefty knitter. And what is really cool about her is she knits, I guess, backwards or mirrored to what most people do. And I love that because I sometimes will try and knit backwards when I don't feel like purling. And I thought that maybe I was doing something wrong, or it would twist the stitches weirdly. And I always just stop and flip it around and do my purl row. But now that I know that that's a thing, I think I might try a little harder on purling back or knitting backwards. So like I could just knit across the row and then knit back the other way. But anyway, I really like her podcast. I've been checking them out. Her and her husband is hilarious. He kind of reminds me a little bit of my husband a little bit. And they're on the East Coast also. I am feeling really sad about all of the people I'm finding now that are over around Maryland and Delaware and Pennsylvania, and I was over there for so long and I never went to seek out other people, but it's so cool to watch and and to see things that she's doing, and her daughter's really cute, and I just really like her whole vibe. And then one of my favorite podcasts to watch is Quirky Monday with Kalisha, and I think she also goes by Nadiratani, I think is how she says it, on Instagram and Ravelry. And she's just so creative. I think she does everything. She sews and knits and crochets, and she's been weaving, and it's just so peaceful for me to sit and knit and watch her podcast. It brings a smile on my face, and she's just like this bright personality. So if you haven't checked her out, you probably should. And she makes the best things, and I just really like watching her. Yeah. So those are the podcasts that I've been watching. I don't know, I'm feeling really rushy talking today, but slow down, breathe. Since it's been 2 weeks, I have like a ton of finished items. So I will start with, last week I talked about my first spinning project, and that I knit up was a rainbow cowl, and I used Shetland wool, and I don't think that I showed it, so I'm gonna show that now. This was my first spun yarn, and it's arty, and it was rainbow colored little bats, and it's Shetland from a local sheep. And I had the lovely opportunity to meet the lady today, and I'm horrible because I don't remember her name, but I got to spin with her this past Saturday at my local yarn shop, Naughty Ladies, and it was so nice, and she just had so many information, so much information, so many tips, and it was just really nice to sit next to her and spin. But I love this. You know, it's not a good spin, but it's my first spin, so it's really special. You know, there's a lot of over twisting, and you know, there's some lumps and some bumps, but it's mine, and I made it, and I love it. I do. It's my favorite. So there's that. And then another thing I talked about last week were my first pair of knitted socks, which I did a little while ago. But these are my socks. They were in the wash, and now they're not, and I've been putting off wearing them all week so that I could show you guys. But yeah, they're just a vanilla sock, and they're in Jawool Superwash and the rainbow colorway. They're a little big on me. I didn't know, you know, it's my first pair of socks, so, but now I know, do a little bit tighter gauge. Like they're just a little bit long, and tiny bit too wide. So with my next pair, I won't do as many stitches around. I think I did 72. Everybody does 64, but I have really wide calves and really wide feet, so I thought I would go a little bigger, and maybe I don't need to. But I love them. They're super comfy. They're absolutely my favorite. They fit me decently. They're good, you know, house socks for sure. Yeah, so they are super cute. I love rainbows. You know, I'm a child of the 80s, and I grew up in the 90s, and, you know, rainbows and neon, and yeah, anything like that just calls to me. So they're vanilla sock with fish lips kiss heel. My first sock, I got that pattern because everybody recommended it, and I really like it. It made it very, very easy, broke it down. It's a lengthy pattern, but it's totally worth it. It's only like $1 or $2 or something like that. So the next thing I finished is this little purse I made. This is where I was on this project with my last podcast 2 weeks ago. That's what this little cheeseburger progress keeper is showing. I did a herringbone stitch on here, and you know, it's my first time, and I was doing a single stitch on each edge instead of continuing the herringbone around because I wanted like an edging, and it ended up twisting, I guess because of the herringbone, and made this really cool like design feature, like a slant that went up each side. But I sewed a zipper on there. I hand sewed it with off-color thread, so, you know, hand stitching inside there. But I really love this. I used my Darn Good yarn that I got last month, and the worsted weight silk watercolors. I really like it. It's kind of fuzzy a little, but it is a hand spun, and it's a single ply, so that's to be expected. I love the way this feels. I would have probably owned a purse just like this when I was a kid, because, you know, those crocheted purses and those hand knit purses were really big there for a while. But I love it. It's a cute little pouch. I'll probably use it for notions or something, makeup. I don't know. My daughter has tried to lay claim on it. but we'll see. But so there's that. The next thing I finished is for a baby shower gift. My husband's cousin is having her first child. She's having a little girl. So I knit up this cute little sleeveless lace dress. I do believe she's due in May. So I wanted to do something summery that the baby could wear, you know, fairly soon. And I think that color is showing up about right. It's a very corally, almost watermelon-y pink with this lace detail on the bottom. It is the, look at my notes here, sleeveless lace dress. It's in the 60 Quick Baby Knits book, and it's by Grace Akram. And I used Cascade Ultra Pima, and it's like 220 yards. The pattern called for me to buy 3 128 gram skeins. I'm sorry, 128 yard skeins, 3 of them. So I bought 2 of this thinking it would be fine, and I only used 1, and it was 220 yards. I used 1, so and my gauge is right on. So I don't know. Anyway, and I put a little cute little button on the back, you know, so that she could easily get it on and over the baby's head. And when I do my buttons, I don't remember where I learned this tip from, but sorry, loud neighbor cars. Oh, actually that was the mailman dropping a package on my porch. Anyway, I put a little piece of felt on the back side of the button when I sew it on. I don't remember who I learned that tip from, but yeah, I really like that. So I finished that. And the next thing that I finished is this cute little baby sophisticate. And this is for my husband's friend that he used to work with. They're having another little boy. So this was the yarn I showed you guys last week. I love this so much. It's so cute. So this was the Baby Sophisticate by Linden Down. So I made a few changes for the pattern because it has garter stitch, button band and collar, as well as sleeve, cuffs, and bottom. And I just did 1x1 ribbing. I saw another person on Ravelry who had done that, and I really liked that. And I also added some cute little pockets. I know they're completely pointless. You know, a 6-month-old doesn't need pockets, but they're just so cute. It reminds me of a little grandpa sweater. I absolutely love it. I just have a little card on here because I was supposed to go to this baby shower on Saturday, so I was not going to be able to show it to you, but the baby shower got postponed because of the weather. It's just threw everybody down here for a loop. So that was another finished thing, and I have one more finished object, knitted object that is, and this is a pattern that I sort of made up, more or less. So I took a few tips that I learned from the lacy sleeveless dress to make the top of it, this the tank top part here, and altered it for how I wanted to do. And there was a baby sleeper in the 60 Quick Knit book that I took the measurements from. But other than that, everything else is just from my brain. And I think I wrote down everything that I did in my Ravelry projects page. So this little unicorn marker here is where I was last podcast, and I went from there all the way on up. So it's baby sleeper, and this is for my sister-in-law who is due any day now. And as soon as I am done filming, I am going to the post office to mail this to her. I just really think it's super cute. It's so soft. This is knit out of Mandala Baby, and it is in the Magic Moon colorway, and I just really like the striping. So what I did down here on the bottom as I cast on with the Turkish cast on that I use for socks, and then I just increased until I got to the width that I wanted, knit up in the round, and then divided for the sleeves and knit up and the front, and then knit the back and put some cute little purple buttons, and yeah, it's just super cute. Oh, I didn't say this was Lion Brand Woolies, this yarn. I talked about it last week, but I forgot to say now. This sweater was Lion Brand Woolies. So yeah, those are all of my finished knitted items. I have done since then a few other spins. I think that I showed you guys last week these colorways that I spun up. They might not have been, this twist probably wasn't set then, but it's set now. I don't know what I'm going to knit with them. The one is more of a stripe and the other one is variegated. I think this reminds me of Monsters Incorporated. So this is spun with Merino Top by Ashland Bay in their Jade and Violet, and I plied it with a green thread. I don't know if that's a thing that people do, just like sewing thread, but I just bought like the Sherlock thread that you put on like a serger, and I applied it with that. I wanted to keep the length, and yeah, I'm happy with it. But so I used a green, and with the purple and the blue and the green, it's like Mike and Sully, like it reminds me of Monsters Incorporated. So between the two, I got 144 yards and 112 yards, and they are both chunky with 7 wraps per inch. I don't know what I'm gonna make with these. Maybe a cowl. I could have this next to my face. Every time I do this yarn beard, it reminds me of the Mean Girls. The Mean Girls knit. I'm always just like, yarn beard. And I laugh to myself because nobody else here gets it. Anyway, if you have any ideas what you think this would make, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. I don't know, but I love it. So another thing that I got done is again with the Ashland Bay in the forest color and tangerine, I did this. This is my first chain ply, and I am so happy with this. It is super squishy, like it's so bouncy and soft. I really like it. And again, I did like a stripy one and then a variegated one. I've been playing around trying to see, you know, what I can do. This really is reminding me of like Halloween or like a jack-o'-lantern. It's kind of blown out there. It's a lot more orangey in person. So I got 45 yards and 51 yards, and that is a 3-ply basically. So don't know what I'm gonna make with that yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. But I'm super happy with that. You can see, like, this was the first one that I did, and it's overspun in quite a few places and underspun in some. I didn't know what I was doing. This one is a lot more even than the first one, so I'm really happy with my progress. I'm coming a long way. I'm gathering bits and pieces of information and learning the different things, and I'm really excited with how I'm progressing. So the next thing that I spun is my absolute favorite. It is, again, by Ashlyn Bay, but this is in their Corriedale Stripey Sliver, and this colorway is called Summer Days, but to me, it looks like Lisa Frank. Lisa Frank all the way. So I plied this again with thread, and I used purple and white. So with all the pinks and greens and purples and rainbowiness in here, it really is just totally Lisa Frank. I absolutely love this, so much so that I bought another 4 ounces, and I have some spun waiting for me to ply. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. I was thinking about, I'll tell you in a little while, but I ended up with 101 yards and 121 yards. So that's quite a bit of yardage. Like that's, you know, 222 yards. I think that's my biggest spin so far. Now, mind you, this was a single ply plied with thread, and my 3 ply I ended up with 100 yards total, but this is 3 plied, so, you know, on itself, so it would have been pretty lengthy had I made it a single. I'm not ready to make singles yet. I don't think my spin is uniform enough to do that. We'll get there someday. So yeah, I finished that. Super excited. And yeah, that is all of the things that I have finished. So let's move on to my works in progress. I am currently working on about 4 things, which is a lot less than I was before. I had like 11 projects on needles not that long ago. So right now I am down to 4, and I am super proud of myself. So the first thing that I have is my husband's socks, and these are just a vanilla sock, and I am on, I think I'm on size 0 needles, and this is a gel wool superwash with a reinforced in the toe, and it's just the lighting is blowing it out. It's brown and orange, and he's been bugging me to get these done. This Progress Keeper is where I was last podcast, so this is how much I've done on there. Just a little bit, you know. They're progressing at a good pace considering all of the things that I got finished. And that's just in my little makeup bag that I keep that in. The next thing I am working on is with the sock blank that I had got in the Yarn Crush that I got last month. And this is from All Dyed Up, and it's hand painted fingering superwash, 80% merino, 20% nylon. And it was a very, very beautiful sock blank, and I divided it into 2 even balls because I like to do 2 at a time. We all know that I don't want to give somebody just 1 sock because I totally would. Anyhow, I am doing these socks for my grandma, and I just think these are totally her colorway. This Progress Keeper is where I was last. I just dropped all my things. Hang on. Yeah, that's where I was last podcast, and this is where I am now. They're also a slow project. The project is out of the book that came in the kit, and they're called the Artemis Socks by Melinda Meeser, and they will look like that but in the blue. So I think those are absolutely going to be perfect for my grandmother. That's if those of you that know her, that's right up her alley. So I've been slowly progressing on those my goal, I'm trying to pick all this stuff up. My goal is to have those done by her birthday. I'd like to get them done by Mother's Day, but I'm not gonna put that kind of pressure on myself with gifts and things anymore. Her birthday's in August, so that's quite a while. That's a good time frame to think that I could have those done. So that is my second project I'm working on. I lied, I said 4 projects. I have 5 projects. The next thing I'm working on is my husband's sweater that I talked about last week, and I've been keeping that in this bag. It's just a purse. It is a purse that I absolutely love. It's got pineapples on it. My good friend Katrina gave this to me before I moved away, and I put a little pineapple progress keeper on there just because it makes me happy, and it's a good size. It's a good size bag to keep this project in. So here is my progress on his sweater, and this is called The Husband's Sweater, and it is by The Husband's Sweater. It's by Nancy Gardner. So I am new to making sweaters, and this is probably not a sweater you would want to start if you're new to making sweaters. It's a very simple red pattern. It's like 2 pages long, and you kind of have to know things for it, and you really have to read, like it says, continue rounds 2 and 5 for this many inches, then do 2 through 5 for this many inches. Well, I didn't read that at first, and I got really confused. I got really lost, but I figured it out, and it's coming along. It's got a nice little cable detail. This is where I keep my cable needle in the front there, so I don't lose it. It's just like a little cable detail in the front. The thing is, though, in her pattern, she wrote the cable pattern, and it's written down for flat knitting, and this is knit in the round. So luckily I have quite a bit of experience with cabling, and I recognized it after the second row. So this first row, I followed her pattern, and I have some purl bumps there. That's not going to matter because this is, you know, going to get picked up and sewn. There's going to be a shawl collar on it. So I just left it and fixed the cable pattern, started doing it properly. I know what I'm doing when it comes to cables, so that was not an issue. This marker here, this little camper, is where I was last week, and it is knit from the top down, so from here to there is what I had finished last week, and from there down is what I've done. So I finished the raglan, divided for the sleeves, and started the cable pattern on the front. I'm really enjoying this knit. It's going very fast. I can't believe I have put off knitting sweaters for so long. I thought that I'd get bored with all that, you know, stockinette stitch, and I thought I'd put it down. And this coming along really quickly. I'm already into my 3rd skein of yarn. It's Cascade 220 in the gray. It's the non-superwash one. I'm really enjoying knitting sweaters. It's a fun thing for me. And so much so that I cast on a sweater for myself. Yeah, that doesn't really look like much yet because I just cast it on 2 nights ago. And I am using a book that I got by Ann Budd, and it's called The Knitter's Handy Book of Top-Down Sweaters. I absolutely love this book. I picked it up on recommendation of Sophia from The Drunk Knitter. She was saying that this was a really good book to get, and I love it. It breaks it down in here. It tells you, you know, general sweater measurements and, you know, this general needle size stitches per inch you'd get for yarn. And, you know, if you have this stitches per inch, then cast on this many stitches if you're going to knit this bust size. And I just like it. So I could make sweaters for my children, myself, my husband, and so much so to where I could figure it out how to make a sweater for larger if I needed or slightly smaller. So I am doing just a basic raglan, and I'm doing mine in the 54-inch bust because I want it to be a little on the loose side. And I started to do a V-neck, but I'm trying to get to the page where I'm at. I started to do a V-neck sweater, and then I decided that I didn't want it to be actually V-neck. I wanted it to kind of go straight across, like almost like a square neck, but not exactly a square neck because I like how when shirts fit me there. So I did the shoulders down a little ways, and then I cast on the number of stitches that I would need across the front, and then I'm still doing the raglan down, and I'm really happy with it. And so I use upon the lady at my local knit shop, I think her name is Ashley, she works there, she suggested that you use highlighter tape to mark your spot in patterns, and it's the best idea because I could take this off and move it to a different size if I wanted to, but right now all of my current measurements are marked with the highlighter tape. So I really love this book. Anybody who's interested in learning how to knit a sweater, or you know, if you want to make your own sweater design, this gives you the basic numbers that you need for knowing how to make a sweater, which I really like because that's how I knit in general. Like with hats and stuff, I'm like, okay, I have worsted weight yarn. I know that if I'm going to use this size needle, this is the gauge that I get, so I know that I need to cast on this many number of stitches, and then I just do it and I make a hat, and it's just how I work. I don't generally like search for patterns all of the time because that eats up a lot of my time being on Ravelry, and I'd rather be knitting. But so I'm really loving this, and I'm doing a little eyelet detail in the raglan for my increases, so you know, just yarn overs. And this is going to be a stripy sweater. I'm doing a pearl detail on the front, and I'm going to also do a pearl detail when I get down into the body to increase for my hips, because I got really wide hips. So I'm loving that. I'm knitting that in Lion Brand Wool Ease. It's like the mandala colorways, so I bought a bunch of these, and it's going to stripe into all of these colors like so. And this colorway is called Zeus. I love the names of all of their colorways, like Centaur and Warlock and Magic Moon. Like, yeah, I'm all about that life. So there's that. And the last thing that I have on needles is my gingham cowl. And this is double knit. So I really like that. I showed this last week. This is where I was. This is how much I've gotten done. Not much. I finished one row. I'm starting into the next colorway. And that is with Cascade 220 Superwash. And this pattern is by Gabriella Papel. And it is a free pattern on Ravelry. Yeah, so I really like it. I love plaid. It's my favorite. So those are all my works in progress. So yeah, only 5 things on needles, which is good. I'm getting down there, and I just cast that sweater on, so I finished almost all of my stuff for February. No, just 2 pair of socks and a sweater were the only, and the cowl were the only things I didn't finish in February. So the next thing that I want to show you are some things that I got for my stash. and I got these cute little, they're makeup bags, and I got them at my grocery store, and they were like between $5 and $10, and I just really love them. They have a flat bottom. This is cactus print. I put a little stitch marker on there. That's super cute. They also had two other prints that I really liked, and one was this flamingo print, and I already had this flamingo progress keeper, so that's just perfect. They're you know, you don't have to buy all of the expensive knitting bags. I want to, I do, but you know, I just use what works. And then they had this mermaid tail one, mermaid tail on both sides, and I have this cute little mermaid progress keeper / stitch marker. I put it on this coilless safety pin, which I called them light bulb safety pins last week, but apparently they're called coilless safety pins. So yeah, there's that. Those bags are adorable. And I got, one second. I got this yarn. So my husband knows so many people that are having babies. We are done having children, like done. Like he's snipped and I have a hysterectomy. So we're done having babies, but I still love all the babies. And so I will always knit for all the babies. So another guy that he works with is having a little girl. They just found out. And so they're not your usual knit for little girly pink, you know, frilly stuff. So they're more like these colors. So I got this like mauvey purple and this black, and I don't know exactly what I'm gonna knit yet, but I'm leaning towards crocheting a star blanket with stripes, but I might switch it up and make, I don't know, a summer dress. They're due in April, I do believe, so summer dress, gotta cast that on soon, get that done. So the other thing I got was from my local yarn store, and I bought this for my husband because he knits also, but I'm probably going to take it from him because I love this colorway. And it's called Pineapple Express, and it's by Blazin' Fibers, and it's 100 grams, 463 yards, 75/25 superwash merino nylon. And I just love this colorway. There's like greens and yellows and like browns and deep burgundies in there. This is right up his alley. And I told him that I bought it for him, but I might knit it. But I'd knit something for him, so technically I wasn't fibbing. So I got that. The other thing that I got was, there was a big sale on Lion Brand at Joann Fabrics. Everything was like 25% off. So I decided to get this shawl in a cake, and it's super sparkly. And I keep saying that I need a gray or a neutral shawl because I don't have one. All of mine are rainbow colored or whatever because I like rainbow. So I got this one, and it's like grays and whites, but there's a rainbow sparkle throughout, so it's kind of still neutral even though it's sparkly. And this is called Opal. So I don't know if you guys, yeah, I think you could see all of that sparkle. I just love it. So I got that. And I am going to be crocheting the Lotus Mandala Duster for the summer. And I decided that I wanted to do it in a rainbow. So I got the Gnome colorway and the Lion Brand Mandala. I just have an affliction for Lion Brand Mandalas. It's like almost 600 yards. You get all these gradient colors, they go together. It knits up really nicely. It's not too pilly, it's very soft. The Woolies one is nice also. I really like them. So I got the gnome colorway. It's gonna knit up like that. I'm gonna crochet that for myself, so I'm excited about that. And another thing that I got was from Goodwill, because I like thrift shopping, and sometimes they have stuff there. And I found this. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but you know, I feel like I could throw it in with something else. 4 skeins of Tickle, yeah, by Sullivan's International, and they're all about 50 grams, like almost 70 yards. Just, it's like fun for, I don't know. They were like 50 cents each, so why not? And while I was there, I found this wooden bowl, which I really like, and it says it was made in the Philippines. I really like the little notches, because that'd be good for me to just like have as a yarn guide. So I've been keeping these in there. You never know what you're gonna find at the thrift store. I also found a mini bowl just like it, and this sparkle yarn of 79 cents. So yeah, I'll do something with that eventually, maybe. If not, I'll let my daughter knit with it. She's been after me to get her sparkly, glittery rainbow stuff. So, and the last thing that I got was my Darn Good Yarn of the month. And this was the colorway that I got this month. I really like it. It's a 2-ply. It's called Pink Flamingo. Darn Good Fancy Twist Yarn, Pink Flamingo. I like the black with the rainbow. And it came with a little bag this month. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this bag, because it's an open top with just a button thing. I'll figure something out. I like it. So there's that. And that's all of my acquisitions. That's not true, because I bought you guys some things. So, oh really, my house phone is ringing? But it never rings. Yeah, it'll stop in a minute. Perfect. Does anybody answer the phone anymore? I don't. I don't even know why I have one. Okay, it went to voicemail. So I'm gonna do a giveaway. I got this bag at Staples, and I also bought the coffee mug for myself, but I think this would make a nice little Notions pouch for one of you. And I put a little narwhal, unicorn of the sea, progress keeper on there. And I got this pack of stitch markers in this little rainbowy box from Walmart. Put that together, and I'm going to throw in one of my Lisa Franks. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so I'm gonna I don't know where I'll do the giveaway. Maybe here on YouTube. No, I'll probably do it on Instagram. It's easier for me to do it that way. So yeah, so we're gonna do a giveaway. I'll post all the details on my Instagram. And yeah, I don't know, makes me happy. So a few other things that I got this week that are not yarn, but they're yarn related. I got these scissors. They're rainbow unicorn. embroidery scissors. Diane on Nitty Naughty had shown these. She got a pair, so I went online and ordered myself a pair because they're just adorable. And I got a few other books. I got Yarn-A-Texture, which is super good book. I'm learning so much about my spinning with this. And I got the Marie Green Seamless Knit Sweaters in 2 weeks. I really liked the Stillwater. That's the lady who wrote that pattern, so I really wanted to get this book, and I've got a few pages marked already for sweaters that will probably be in my future. So yeah, speaking of future knitting, the other thing that I wanted to do, I showed you the Lotus Mandala Duster. The next thing that I'm going to cast on is probably going to be this Girlfriend Market Bag by Laura Spradlin. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. I had an entire skein left over of the Cascade Ultra Pima cotton, and I thought that would be a really good use for that. So yeah, that's my future knitting. That's a giveaway in the future, and I think that that's all. So until then, knit all the things. Bye!